Good morning, friends. In this video, we shall talk about important books and the genre to which they belong. So, firstly, we shall begin with drama. तो ड्रामा आप देखते हैं. Firstly, it was begin in ancient Greek, and it was divided into 4 parts, which were miracle, mystery, morality, and interludes. Mystery plays were written basically on the theme of Bible and on the life of Jesus Christ. Miracle plays were written on the life and miraculous deeds of saints, and the latter invention of drama was morality, and latest one is interlude. So just see, miracle की बात करें तो play of Saint Catherine, resurrection of Lazarus, Daniel, Saint Nicholas, life of Thomas Becket, cycle of York play, cycle of Townley play, cycle of Chester play, cycle of Coventry play, the second Shepherd's play, Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is closely associated with Jesus Christ. Her name is counted with, figured with Jesus Christ. The Golden Legend, the Conversation of Saint Paul. Coming to mystery plays, which deals with the themes of Bible and particularly on the life of Jesus Christ. तो आप देखते हैं क्राइस्ट्स नेटिविटी, रिसरेक्शन, डेथ ऑन द क्रॉस, क्रिएशन एंड फॉल ऑफ मैन, लास्ट जजमेंट, नोवा, Abraham and Isaac. Talking about morality plays, we have the Castle of Preservance, Everyman, Four Elements of Magnificence, Plays of the Paternoster, the Plays of Creed, Mind, Will and Understanding Mankind. Then Lusty Juvenus, Hicks Corner, and Marriage of Wit and Science. The final one is The New Customs, Trial of Treasure. इंटरल्यूड की बात करें तो इंटरल्यूड से थॉमस हीवुड का नाम जोड़ा जाता है. हालांकि उनसे पहले एवरीमैन थॉमस हीवुड से पहले भी इंटरल्यूड को हम देख सकते हैं. सो बिगिन विथ इंटरल्यूड, एवरीमैन बाय थॉमस हीवुड, हिक्स कॉर्नर, द वर्ल्ड एंड द चाइल्ड, गॉड्स प्रोमिसेस, the pardoner and the friar, the 4 P's, Thersites, the interlude of youth, Lusty Juventus, Jack Juggler, Amphitryon, Nick Winton, Disobedient Child. These are some morality interludes. Now we shall move towards regular tragedy. So talking about first English tragedy is Garbaduck or Forex and Perex, written by Thomas Shackville and Thomas Norton. It is first regular tragedy in 5 acts in English, written in blank verse form. Next, यूनिवर्सिटी बिट्स में क्रिस्टोफर मार्लो को देखें. टेम्बरलैंड द ग्रेट, एडवर्ड फर्स्ट पार्ट फर्स्ट, एडवर्ड सेकेंड पार्ट फर्स्ट एंड पार्ट सेकेंड. फर्स्ट ग्रेट शेक्सपियरियन ड्रामेटिस्ट इनको कहा जाता है. डॉक्टर फास्टस, ज्यू ऑफ माल्टा, ट्रेजेडी ऑफ क्वीन, ट्रेजेडी ऑफ डीडो क्वीन ऑफ कार्थेज. नेक्स्ट थॉमस किड, Thomas Kidd wrote The Spanish Tragedy. George Peele, Alphonsus of Germany, The Arraignment of Paris, The Famous Chronicle of King Edward I, Titus Andronicus, लॉक्रीन। शेक्सपियर ने भी टीटस एंड्रोनिकस प्ले कंपोज किया है। थॉमस लॉज की है द वुंड्स ऑफ सिविल वॉर। रॉबर्ट ग्रीन की अल्फोंसस ऑफ एरागॉन। जॉर्ज गैस्कोइन की जोकास्टा। समटाइम इट इज़ सपोज टू बी द फर्स्ट ट्रेजेडी। बेन जॉनसन की बात करें तो सेजानस हिज फॉल, कैटलीन हिज कॉन्स्पिरेसी। नेक्स्ट है जॉन फ्लेचर द मैड्स ट्रेजेडी। जॉन वेबस्टर द वाइट डेविल। द डचेस ऑफ माल्फी द डेविल्स लॉ केस। थॉमस ह्यूड A Woman Killed with Kindness. John Ford The Broken Heart. Francis Beaumont A King and No King. John Marston Tragedy of Sophonisba and Antonio's Revenge. George Chapman Revenge. फुल्के ग्रेनविल की एलामा और मुस्तफ़ा। थॉमस मिडल्टन वीमन बिवेयर वीमन और द ऑनेस्ट होर। नाउ मूविंग टुवर्ड्स शेक्सपियर। विलियम शेक्सपियर की ट्रेजेडी को हम 4 हिस्सों में बांटते हैं, अर्ली और मिडल ट्रेजेडी, ग्रेट ट्रेजेडी, रोमन ट्रेजेडी एंड हिस्टोरिकल ट्रेजेडी। So, look at Romeo and Juliet, Timon of Athens, Titus Andronicus, Hamlet, Othello, King Lear and Macbeth। रोमन ट्रेजेडी में जूलियस सीजर, एंटोनी एंड क्लियोपेट्रा, कॉरियोलेनस। हिस्टोरिकल प्ले या ट्रेजेडीज हेनरी VI, रिचर्ड II, रिचर्ड III, हेनरी VIII, हेनरी IV, हेनरी V और किंग जॉन। नाउ नेक्स्ट जेम्स शर्ली की द कार्डिनल, द मैड्स रिवेंज, द ट्रेटर। जॉन ड्राइडन की बात करें द टायरेनिकल लव, कॉन्क्वेस्ट ऑफ ग्रेनेडा, ऑल फॉर लव, द राइवल लेडीज, द इंडियन एम्परर, औरंगजेब, डॉन सेबास्टियन, क्लियोमेंस, लव ट्रायम्फ। ये सभी हीरोइक प्ले हैं, हीरोइक ट्रेजेडी या शी ट्रेजेडी। एज यू नो हीरोइक ट्रेजेडी को आप शी ट्रेजेडी भी कहते हैं। नेक्स्ट इज जोसेफ एडिसन, ही रोट कैटो। जॉन गाल्सवर्दी, जस्टिस स्ट्राइफ, T.S. एलियट, मर्डर इन द कैथेड्रल। नेक्स्ट वी शैल टॉक अबाउट मेलोड्रामाज। मेलोड्रामाज की बात करें तो जॉन फ्लेचर की द मेड्स ट्रेजेडी, जॉन वेबस्टर द वाइट डेविल, द डचेस ऑफ माल्फी, द डेविल्स लॉ केस। जॉन फोर्ड की द ब्रोकन हार्ट, द लवर्स मेलांकली, लव सेक्रीफाइस। नेक्स्ट इज फिलिप मैसेंजर, ही रोट द सिटी मैडम, द ड्यूक ऑफ मिलान। Next is Thomas Wood. He wrote A Woman Killed with Kindness, The English Teacher, The Captives. Francis Beaumont wrote A King and No King, The Night of the Burning Pestle. Next we shall talk about romantic comedies. Shakespeare is supposed to be father of romantic comedy. He wrote Two Gentlemen of Verona, The Merry Wives of Windsor, Measure for Measure, The Comedy of Errors, Love's Labour's Lost, The Taming of the Shrew, All's Well That Ends Well, A Midsummer's Night Dream, Merchant of Venice, Much Ado About Nothing, Twelfth Night. फ्रेंड्स, सिम्बलाइंस पेरिक्लीस द विंटर्स टेल्स और टेम्पेस्ट को रोमांस की कैटेगरी में रखा जाता है। नेक्स्ट इज जॉन लेली, यूफियस द एनाटॉमी ऑफ बीट इंडिमियन। थॉमस लॉज रोट रोजमलिंड। रॉबर्ट ग्रीन, फ्रायर बेकन एंड फ्रायर Bungay, Orlando Furioso and Pendasto. He is first critic of Shakespeare. George Peele, Billy Beguiled, The Wisdom of Dr. Doddy Paul. Next is Comedy of Humors. Ben Jonson is father of comedy of humor, and he talked about Shakespeare, that he knew small Latin and less Greek. So look at Johnson's comedies. Every man in his humor, every man out of his humor. The Magnetic Lady are humorously reconciled. Cynthia's Revels are the fountain of self-love. Poetaster, the Poetaster are his arraignment. The Alchemist, Walpole are the fox. Bartholomew Fire, The Silent Women, Sejanus his fall, Catelyn his conspiracy, Devil as an Ash, The Mask of Beauty. George Chapman wrote, Humor's day's mirth, eastward ho. John Day, he wrote humor out of breath. John Marston wrote Malcontent. Every woman in her humor. It is anonymous creation. The author is unknown. Next comedy is by John Dryden, All for Love. This is a tragedy. The rival ladies, tyrannical love, love triumphant. George Farquhar, The Recruiting Officer, The Buick's Stratagem. William B. Shirley wrote Love in Wood, The Plain Dealer, The Country Wife, The Gentleman, Dancing Master. Next is William Congreve. He wrote The Way of the World, The Old Bachelor, The Double Dealer, Love for Love. Remember friends, Dryden wrote All for Love and Beecherley wrote Love for Love. The Morning Bride. Next is John Bambrew. He wrote The Relapse, The Provoked Wife, The Confederacy. Next is John Etheridge. He wrote The Comical Revenge, She Would If She Could, The Man of Mood. Thomas Otway wrote Orphan, Venice Preserved, Don Carlos, Alcibiades. Next is Nathaniel Lee. He wrote Nero, The Rival Queens, and Sophonisba. Talking about sentimental comedies, Oliver Goldsmith is regarded as father of sentimental comedy. He wrote She Stoops to Conquer, The Good-Natured Man, The Good-Natured Man. Richard Sheridan wrote The Rivals, The School for Scandal. It's important play. Richard Steele wrote The Funeral, The Lying Lover, The Tender Husband, The Conscious Lovers. Next we shall talk about Mask. Hallow's Chronicle की है Mask inserted within the Chronicle. Thomas Campion की है The Lord's Mask. Next, Samuel Daniel, Tethys Festivals or Vision of the 12 Goddesses. Francis Beaumont wrote The Mask of Flowers, and Ben Jonson wrote Mask of Blackness, Chloridia, The Mask of Queens, Hymen, Love Freed from Ignorance, Oberon the Fairy Prince, Love Restored, The Mask of Gypsies, The Mask of Christmas, Mercury Vindicated, The Fortunate Isles. John Milton wrote Commerce or the Virtue. Shakespeare wrote Mask scene in the following play: Winter's Tale, The Tempest और Midsummer's Night Dreams. हालांकि शेक्सपियर ने डायरेक्ट कोई भी मास्क नहीं लिखा, लेकिन अपने इन 3 नाटकों में द विंटर्स टेल, द टेम्पेस्ट और अ मिडनाइट समर्स ड्रीम में इन्होंने मास्क का प्रयोग किया है. नेक्स्ट वी शैल टॉक अबाउट द पोएटिक प्ले. विलियम वर्ड्सवर्थ रोट द बॉर्डरर्स, इट इज़ इन ब्लैंक वर्स. एस.टी. कॉलरिज रोट रिमोर्स और क्रिसमस टेल. जोना बैली wrote Plays of the Passion. Walpole wrote Mysterious Mother. George Coleman, The Surrender of Calais, The Battle of Hexham, The Iron Chest. Robert Southey, The Fall of Robespierre, by Robert Southey. Walter Scott wrote The House of Aspen or Macduff's Cross or Holyden Hill. Lord Byron wrote Werner, Mansfred, Marino Faliero, Sarah Danopoulos, Cain, The Deformed Transformed, Heaven and Earth. John Keats wrote Otho the Great. P.B. Shelley wrote The Cenci, Prometheus Unbound, Hellas or Oedipus the Tyrannus. Next, Miss Mitford wrote Julian, Renji. Leigh Hunt wrote The Legend of Florence. Robert Browning wrote Strafford, Pippa Passes, King Victor and King Charles, The Return of the Druses, Columbus' Birthday. Alfred Lord Tennyson wrote Queen Mary, The Falcon, The Cup, The Promise of May, Harold, The Foresters. इनमें से क्वीन मैरी, हेरोड और बैकेट हिस्टोरिकल प्ले भी माने जाते हैं. एसी स्विनबर्न रोट रोजामंड एंड द क्वीन मदर, मैरी स्टुअर्ट. एटलांटा इन कैलिडन. मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड रोट एम्पेडोक्लिस ऑन इतना. Talking about dramatic monologues, Alfred Tennyson Lord wrote Ulysses, Maud, a monodrama. Tithonus, Locksley Hall. Robert Browning, who is called father of dramatic monologue, he wrote The Ring and the Book, a series of 10 monologues. Mr. Selous the Medium. Bishop Blougram's Apology. Andrea del Sarto is very important one. The Epistle of Karsish. Men and Women. Rabbi Ben Ezra. My Last Duchess. The Bishop Orders His Tomb. Soliloquy of the Spanish Cloister. Caliban upon Sitbos. The Last Ride Together. This is also very appreciable poem. Prospice. Porphyria's Lovers. Evelyn's Hope. Fra Lippa Lippi. Prospice is known for excessive optimism. T.S. Eliot wrote The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Now, we shall talk about problems play. George Bernard Shaw wrote, Widower's House. It deals with the plight of old men. Mrs. Warren's Profession. It deals with the problems of fallen women and prostitution at that time in England. Arms and the Man. It talks about futility of war and false glamour of soldiership. Caesar and Cleopatra. It talks about false concept of hero and hero worship. Man and Superman. It is a satire on Superman and romantic love. Apple Cart. It deals with the hollowness of democracy. It deals with the hollowness of democracy. Getting married. This talks about family problems. Misalliance. It talks about maladjustment between husband and wife. The Doctor's Dilemma. It talks about carelessness of medical profession. John Bull's Other Island. It talks about racial prejudices. Devil's Disciple. It talks about it talks about puritanical rituals and fanaticism. Major Barbara deals with religious hypocrisy, dharmic dambh. The shiving up of Blanco Posnet, superstition and fanaticism of religion. Men of Destiny deals with the hollowness of hero worship. Heartbreak House deals with broken family. Overruled. It deals with social inequalities. Androcles and the Lion deals with religious persecution. Pygmalion. It deals with phonetics and pronunciation. How a lady from lower middle class is going to join the upper class, and she behaves and tries to speak, try to adopt the ways of the upper society, particularly their ways of speaking. Next is John Galsworthy. His play, The Strife, deals with labor and capital conflict. The Silver Box, Inhuman System of Law and Injustice. Justice, Inhuman System of Legal Justice and Imprisonment. Next, Loyalties. It deals with conflict of loyalties to different persons or institutions. Next is The Pigeon. It deals with inhuman treatment in shelter homes and shortcomings in the poor law. The Skin Game deals with conflict between landed aristocracy and manufacturing class. The Escape deals with the condition of prisoners after their release from the prison. The Eldest Son, Evil of Illicit Love से डील करती. द फिजिटिव, infidelity in wife and husband's relationship. Author and their prose work. Now we shall move towards prose work.